Far below the ocean's rolling waves rests a hidden dominion hidden from human eyes. A dark sanctuary where sunlight perishes and biology defies our very understanding. While our machinery explores the red sands of Mars and charts deep, freezing cosmic systems, we possess richer maps of the lunar wasteland than we do of the watery abyss right here on Earth. Astonishingly, humanity has scanned a mere fraction, under 5% of these abyssal waters. The mysteries unfolding nearly 2 kilometers beneath the tide are still locked in secrecy. Up at the sunlit surface, the sea is a sun-drenched haven, teeming with biological energy. Solar energy drives gargantuan blooms of microscopic plankton, sustaining the marine food web from reefs to apex predators. However, plunge past the 200-meter threshold, and the life-giving glow rapidly dissolves. Here, we cross into the mesopelagic twilight zone, a gargantuan water column extending a full kilometer down. In this dim corridor, solar radiation is too feeble to trigger any photosynthetic processes. Consequently, the microscopic green pastures disappear, leaving a world devoid of botanical energy. What remains is a continuous, ghostly descent of organic debris from the heavens above. This consists of decaying planktonic waste and the skeletal remnants of surface organisms. Oceanographers refer to this mesmerizing, ghostly drift as marine snow. While it resembles useless cosmic dust to us, to the residents here, it represents vital nourishment. To survive, the dwellers of this transition zone have developed remarkably bizarre anatomies. A vast number have achieved near-perfect transparency, floating like delicate glass sculptures. The ethereal glass squid glides silently, its tiny internal organs suspended like a phantom in the blue. Beside it, the glass octopus is practically a ghost, exposing only its eyes to the gloom. Conversely, some species employ a completely contrary survival tactic, radiating intense light. Deep in the shadows, organisms generate their own illumination via complex biochemical synthesis. This mesmerizing phenomenon of living light is scientifically termed bioluminescence. To human observers, it appears like a spectacular cosmic display of blinking beacons and shimmering designs. Yet in the abyss, this light is a tool for survival, used for snaring prey or signaling potential mates. Fascinatingly, certain species utilize light to mask themselves entirely via counterillumination. Looking upward, hungry predators scan for dark shadows cast against the dim surface glow. To evade detection, creatures like the firefly squid line their undersides with glowing photophores. By tuning their output to match the downwelling light from above, they erase their presence. This blends their silhouette seamlessly into the background, achieving total visual erasure. It is the ultimate trick of camouflage, using light to merge directly with light. Yet other animals exploit even weirder strategies, such as the bloody-belly comb jelly. Because red wavelengths are absorbed first, a crimson body becomes as black as charcoal here. This crimson predator drifts in complete stealth, entirely unseen by nearby hunters. Crucially, its dark red digestive tract blocks the glow of any bioluminescent prey it devours. In this boundary of light and shadow, evolutionary success is dictated by who remains visible. Every anatomical mechanism is designed to exploit or suppress this precious resource. Yet this dim corridor is the stage for one of our planet's most magnificent marvels. As twilight surrenders to night in the upper world, a colossal legion of marine organisms ascends from the freezing depths. Swarms of lanternfish, Squid and gelatinous drifters journey upward to graze. This oceanic militia travels under the absolute cover of nocturnal shadows. They exploit the food-rich upper waters while blindsiding their surface predators. This midnight feeding frenzy drives the most massive nutrient transport cycle on the planet. With the first signs of dawn, they plunge backward, dissolving once more into the freezing dark, seeking refuge in the abyss before the solar rays can betray their location. Oceanographers call this synchronized vertical commute the Deal vertical migration. It represents the most massive coordinated migration across the globe, dwarfing the combined scale of all terrestrial herds, bird flocks, and insect swarms. Yet this titanic ecological event was completely unknown until the Second World War. Military sonar technicians identified what appeared to be a phantom ocean floor. This dense, solid acoustic echo rose toward the surface at night and retreated at sunrise. It completely puzzled the Navy, who assumed they were mapping undiscovered marine ranges. In reality, it was a living wall, a massive undulating carpet of biological entities. The mesopelagic zone is where our standard understanding of biology starts to warp, where a glass-like body becomes the primary defense in a world devoid of cover, where bioluminescence is used not to illuminate, but to merge with the dying sun, where billions of organisms pulse in a biological rhythm predating human history. This is the gateway to the deep, the opening act of an unexplored world. And now, descending below 1,000 meters, the final traces of sunlight die out completely. We have arrived at the midnight zone, a vast oceanic empire extending 4 kilometers down. In this place there are no seasons, no sunrise, only an eternal, unchanging void of darkness. The surrounding waters hover near freezing, a cold that sinks deep into any organic tissue. The hydrostatic pressure here is hundreds of times more crushing than on the dry surface. To our eyes, this appears to be an uninhabitable desert where biological life is impossible. Yet it is in this exact darkness that evolutionary design becomes shockingly creative. Consider the dragonfish, a terrifyingly efficient hunter of these pitch-black depths. Unlike common fish, it has developed an incredibly specialized hunting adaptation. The dragonfish projects its own beam of crimson bioluminescence directly from its face. For almost all other denizens of the deep, red wavelengths are entirely invisible. This makes the dragonfish's glow a private, covert searchlight in the cold dark. It exposes unsuspecting victims while keeping the hunter completely hidden in the shadows. More astonishingly, its eyes are specifically tuned to register this invisible red spectrum. It is as if this predator has claimed a private communication channel for its eyes alone. Other hunters of the bathypelagic realm are masters of total, absolute concealment. Certain species are wrapped in an ultra-black skin that acts like a military stealth shield. This specialized skin tissue absorbs more than 99% of all incoming light, even when hit directly by the high-power headlights of a deep-sea research submarine. The light is swallowed whole, leaving nothing but an empty black silhouette. This flawless biological cloak ensures they remain completely undetected in the dark. And then we encounter the anglerfish, undoubtedly the most bizarre stalkers of the abyss. The female suspends a glowing chemical beacon from her forehead like a fishing rod. This hypnotic trap coaxes curious prey out of the surrounding darkness and into her range. When they venture too close, she snaps her jaws with brutal speed, pinning them with glass-like teeth. But the most staggering mystery of the anglerfish is its unbelievable method of mating. The males are born microscopic, physically underdeveloped, and entirely dependent. Their singular purpose in life is to locate a female in the vast, desolate ocean. A mission that seems virtually impossible in this boundless, pitch-black silence. Upon finding her, he bites into her side, anchoring himself with specialized jaws. And then a truly grotesque transformation begins. Their skin and vessels fuse together. Their blood systems merge, creating a single, shared circulatory loop. His internal organs slowly degenerate, as he no longer needs to sustain himself. Over time, he becomes nothing more than a living appendage, a permanent supplier of genetic material. Kept alive solely by the nutrients flowing through her veins. It represents one of the most radical, extreme mating strategies in the natural world. Yet not every dweller of this dark midnight empire is an active predator. Many are opportunistic scavengers, waiting patiently for debris to descend from the sunlit world. And the ultimate prize in this barren wasteland is the carcass of a fallen whale. A massive whale fall, descending through miles of water to settle on the dark seabed. Once it rests, this leviathan's body becomes a thriving oasis of deep-sea biology, feeding complex communities of unique organisms for several decades. Yet, even with our advanced exploration submersibles, our understanding of this zone is minimal. We are only catching tiny, isolated snapshots of a massive living habitat. For every organism we document, marine biologists estimate dozens more exist completely unseen. Every deep exploration dive reveals life forms never before witnessed by human eyes. Creatures equipped with complex glowing eyes and needle-sharp, transparent fangs. Or bodies so delicate and gelatinous that they turn to water when brought to the surface. This is the Midnight Zone, a realm where light is wielded as a lethal trap. Where absolute invisibility and complete stealth are the only pathways to survival. And where the continuation of life obeys rules that defy our scientific imagination. Plunging past 4,000 meters, we leave the open water column behind forever. We descend into a world of crushing heavy weight, where water pressure reigns supreme. Where icy, sluggish currents crawl across the eternal, unchanging landscape. Where only rare, isolated sparks of chemical light break the oppressive darkness. Crossing the 4-kilometer boundary, we finally make contact with the ocean floor. We exit the open water column, settling onto the sediment of the abyss. Coming to rest on the floor of the largest, most quiet desert on our planet. This is the abyssal plain, a sprawling habitat that covers vast swathes of the globe. A boundless plain of fine, thick silt accumulating over millions of years. Welcome to the abyssal plain, the silent, muddy foundation of our world. The abyssal plain is a domain of complete, uninterrupted darkness and absolute silence. It blankets more than half of our planet's surface, a truly colossal expanse. Yet it remains one of the least explored and most misunderstood habitats on Earth. Here you will find no landmarks, no shallow reefs, and no vibrant marine forests. Only a limitless, flat desert of fine mud stretching across the globe. The temperature in this zone remains locked just above freezing, never exceeding 4 degrees. Nutrients are extraordinarily scarce, turning daily survival into a brutal metabolic battle. Thriving here requires highly specialized evolutionary strategy seen nowhere else. One of the most remarkable phenomena of this zone is deep-sea gigantism, where creatures grow to enormous sizes compared to their shallow water relatives. Giant isopods, resembling puppy-sized ancient armor, crawl over the soft mud. They look like prehistoric survivors, scavenging for any scrap of organic decay. Amphipods, normally microscopic in shallow pools, grow longer than a human hand here. And the legendary colossal squid, one of the largest invertebrates on Earth, roams these depths. Equipped with eyes as large as soccer balls to collect the faintest traces of biological light. The exact cause of this gigantism remains one of oceanography's greatest unsolved riddles. Some researchers propose that larger frames are far more efficient at conserving energy. Others argue it serves as a defense mechanism against rare but deadly predators. The honest truth is, science still lacks a definitive explanation. But another massive surge of life occurs when giants from the upper world perish. A dead whale settling on the abyssal plain represents an incredibly rich biological jackpot. Within hours, scavengers detect the scent and gather for miles around for the feast. Ancient Greenland sharks slowly tear at the calorie-rich, fatty flesh. Hagfish bore inside the carcass, releasing suffocating clouds of slime to ward off rivals. Swarms of ravenous amphipods soon follow, stripping the massive skeleton down to the bone. Then, once the soft tissue is entirely consumed, even stranger specialists arrive. Bone-eating worms known as ostacs completely colonize the bare skeleton. They dissolve and feed on the rich fats and lipids locked deep inside the bones. These isolated ecosystems can survive and flourish on a single skeleton for decades, until nothing is left but fine calcium dust merging back into the silent earth. Other dwellers of this watery desert get by on far less dramatic nourishment. The vampire squid, despite its sinister name, is not a predator at all. It gathers drifting particles of marine snow using unique, highly adhesive filaments, extending these long threads to harvest falling debris suspended in the water. Even in the most oxygen-depleted zones of the ocean, it survives with ease. Using a unique copper-based blood pigment with an incredible affinity for oxygen. In this vast wilderness of silt and absolute silence, the pace of life slows to a crawl. Creatures here grow slowly, reproduce infrequently, and can live for hundreds of years. Such is the case for the ancient Greenland shark, which patrols these freezing waters. An animal that can survive for over 4 centuries, the longest lifespan of any backbone creature. This legendary predator holds the absolute record for longevity among vertebrates. Time itself seems to warp and slow down in this frozen, silent world. The extreme cold reduces metabolic activity to the absolute bare minimum required. And yet, even this barren silt is far from being a completely dead wasteland. Every single grain of sediment hosts millions of active microbes and microscopic fungi, processing organic waste and sustaining a highly covert deep-sea food web. A food web that marine scientists are only now beginning to map and comprehend. The abyssal plains are a stark reminder of the sheer, unimaginable scale of our planet.
Every day,
they span more geographic area than all terrestrial forests, fields, and deserts combined. Yet they remain largely unseen, unmapped, and unexplained by modern civilization. But beyond the abyssal plain lies an even deeper, more hostile geologic frontier. These are the trenches, gouged out by the massive tectonic collisions of our planet. Deep, terrifying cracks where the very crust of the Earth is swallowed and recycled. These steep trenches represent the deepest, most dramatic scars on the planet's face. Places where one colossal tectonic plate slides beneath another in a slow collision, dragging the ocean floor down into unfathomable, high-pressure abysses. Here begins our final, ultimate descent into the deepest darkness. We enter the Hadal Zone, the most extreme and inhospitable environment on Earth. Named appropriately after Hades, the mythological ruler of the underworld. A region extending from 6,000 meters down to the absolute bottom of the world. The Hadal Zone is a place defined by terrifying, crushing physical extremes. At its absolute bottom lies the Mariana Trench, the deepest trench on our planet, plunging down to nearly 11,000 meters beneath the surface. To put this in perspective, if you placed Mount Everest inside this trench, its highest peak would still be buried under more than a mile of ocean water. The physical forces active at this depth are almost beyond human comprehension. The water temperature remains locked just barely above the freezing point, and the hydrostatic pressure exceeds 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure on land. To an unprotected human body, this immense weight would be instantly lethal, compressing and crushing tissue in a millisecond, making survival seem utterly impossible. Yet defying all scientific expectations, life does not just exist here, it flourishes. Among the most astonishing survivors is the delicate Hadal snailfish. They are pale, fragile-looking, and possess thin, translucent skin, so clear that their internal organs are fully visible to our cameras. They appear far too delicate to survive in such a brutal, high-pressure world. Yet they are the deepest-dwelling backbone animals ever discovered by science. Their bodies completely lack rigid bones, utilizing highly flexible cartilage instead. And their cellular structures are reinforced with specialized biochemical compounds, such as TMAO, which prevents vital proteins from collapsing under extreme pressure, allowing them to swim and hunt with ease where other fish would be instantly crushed. Other residents of the trenches are smaller, but equally extraordinary. Amphipods resembling translucent shrimp swarm the trench floor in staggering numbers. They serve as the ultimate cleanup crew, consuming any organic debris that falls, feeding on the remnants of surface life that finally settle in these deep cracks. A recent scientific expedition discovered synthetic plastic fibers inside their guts. Clear proof that even these remote, deep trenches are impacted by human pollution. Our synthetic waste has successfully penetrated the deepest, most isolated spot on Earth. A sobering, tragic warning that the deep sea is directly bound to our actions on land. The Hadal Zone is not nearly as isolated or shielded as we once assumed. But along these steep trench walls, biology takes an even weirder turn. Here, superheated hydrothermal vents spew toxic, mineral-rich plumes from the Earth's mantle. These chimneys, known as black smokers, erupt with boiling metallic fluids. Microbes in these zones feed not on solar energy, but on toxic volcanic chemicals, thriving on hydrogen sulfide, methane, and dissolved heavy metals. This incredible process of generating organic life from chemicals is called chemosynthesis. Vast colonies of giant tube worms with blood-red plumes grow around these vents, alongside dense swarms of specialized white crabs and shrimp crawling over the hot rock. These microscopic chemical pioneers form the absolute foundation of this deep food web. Entire biological communities that thrive without ever needing a single ray of sunlight. proving to us that life can adapt and flourish in utterly alien environmental conditions. These profound discoveries raise a much larger cosmic question for humanity. If biology can adapt to such hostile, toxic extremes here on our own planet, could it not also exist and thrive on completely different worlds in our solar system? Icy moons in the outer solar system conceal massive global oceans beneath frozen crusts. Like Jupiter's moon Europa and Saturn's active moon Enceladus. Global oceans containing far more liquid water than all of Earth's oceans combined. Kept warm not by sunlight, but by internal heat generated by gravitational tides, likely creating superheated hydrothermal vents on their alien seafloors. To explore our own Hadal trenches is to glimpse the oceans of outer space. Earth's deepest scars serve as the perfect evolutionary model for extraterrestrial life. And yet, despite its massive scientific importance, we know almost nothing about these trenches. Fewer humans have traveled to the Mariana Trench than have walked on the surface of the moon. The engineering hurdles of building hulls to withstand such pressure are astronomical. Yet each research dive returns with organisms entirely new to biological science. From translucent sea cucumbers that drift through the water like slow parachutes, to delicate, glass-like jellies that seem to lack any logical anatomical structure, and microbes whose exotic chemical metabolisms remain an absolute scientific mystery. For generations, humanity viewed these deep trenches as lifeless, frozen voids. Cold, silent grave beneath the sea where no living thing could endure. What we have discovered instead is a breathtaking monument to the sheer resilience of life. Life that bends, adapts, and completely reinvents itself to survive the impossible. Rebuilding its very biochemical foundations from the ground up. To endure water columns of pressure that would instantly shatter solid titanium. The deep sea remains, above all, a boundless world of beautiful, unanswered questions. With more than 80% of our global ocean still completely unmapped. Where major scientific discovery is not a rare anomaly, but a daily reality. Each new robotic expedition brings back organisms we could never have conceived. Ethereal jellies and organisms that shatter every established rule of textbook biology. Transparent fish that glide like glassy phantoms through the freezing, dark waters. And glowing worms that transform the cold, barren mud into a starry night sky. Even among the species we have cataloged, so much remains completely unsolved. Why do so many deep-sea organisms grow to such massive, gargantuan sizes? Like the puppy-sized giant isopods crawling across the silent, muddy desert. Or the colossal squid, silently patrolling the boundless darkness of the abyss. And tiny amphipods that swell to the length of an adult human hand. Why do others choose complete transparency, drifting like invisible glass ghosts? Or wrap themselves in ultra-black skin that absorbs almost all incoming light? An evolutionary engineering masterpiece that renders them virtually invisible to predators. But the most beautiful glittering mystery of all remains bioluminescence. Nearly 3/4 of all deep-sea organisms possess the power to make light. Yet the evolutionary purposes behind this living light vary incredibly. From hunting with glowing, deceptive baits in the boundless dark wilderness, to hiding from hungry predators below using specialized counter-illumination, or flashing complex, glowing codes to find a mate in the absolute black. Adapting to survive and multiply in freezing cold and crushing weight. We still cannot fully explain how they develop such intricate chemical pathways. or why some species project light in wavelengths that no other animal can detect. Creating private, secure channels for silent hunting and covert communication. There are deeper biological puzzles still, waiting for future explorers. For now, these remain beautiful, glittering mysteries without a scientific answer. Perhaps that missing explanation is what makes these depths so incredibly powerful. They remind us that our planet still holds unimaginable, epic secrets. Vast, uncharted expanses that remain entirely untouched by human civilization. Deep secrets that are profoundly worth protecting from our ecological footprint. And mysteries that are endlessly worth exploring with patience, humility, and wonder. For the grand era of deep ocean exploration is only just beginning. As our submersibles dim their lights and we prepare to leave this alien realm, the boundless, freezing darkness closes back over this magnificent abyss, leaving the deep in its ancient, sacred silence, as it has been for eons, reminding us that the most profound secrets of Earth lie hidden in the deep.